Kyle B. Thompson. I am the programming director for the Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival. The past 2 weeks, I have been interviewing some fantastic filmmakers who are all official selections of the 2020 Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival. Unfortunately, we can't all be there in person. We're hoping to bring these interviews to the comfort of your homes and also safely in our houses and virtually. So I have an awesome filmmaker who's jumping on right now. Phil, I apologize if I'm messing this up. Phil Chernyak, because we practiced this before, and I hope I nailed that correctly. But he has a great film called You'll Make It in Florida. It streams September 24th at 7:30. So let's bring him on. Yo, what's up, man?
Hi, good to see you, Kyle. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. How close was I with the last name, or how bad was it?
Yeah, Chernyak. Chernyak. That's about as close as most people get. So
okay, all right. So I can't feel too bad. Even like during like the little rehearsal thing that we did, and the second I try to like remember it, I'm like, I'm gonna get nervous, and I did, and I'm like, I'm gonna mess this up. So
close enough. You're in the ballpark.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, man. You have a fantastic film. It's so funny, unique. It speaks volumes knowing Florida so well. So I want to know first is what inspired that film? Where the story?
Well, I mean, so I'm from Florida. I grew up in Florida. I was born in Florida. So I spent most of my life there. I went to college in Florida, at UCF in Orlando. I grew up in Sarasota. And my upbringing in Sarasota was a little unique because my parents, they immigrated from Russia, from Soviet Russia. Oh, wow. And then a few years later, I was born. It's a long story of how they ended up in Florida, but of all places, they ended up in Sarasota, Florida. And so I grew up, you know, my Floridian upbringing was a little unique because my household was very Russian. We grew up speaking Russian, and like, it was a lot of Russian music, Russian movies, but I got to experience American culture through mostly watching television. And so I think like this film, the short answer is this film came out of my experiences and memories of living in Florida, but I didn't want to make it autobiographical. I think the way I wanted to approach it was to sort of take the sights and sounds that I remember growing up there and combine them into something unique, I guess. So yeah. I remember, you know, I grew up watching a lot of television. I mean, as a kid who grew up in the 90s, like a lot of the stuff that was on TV was from the 70s and 80s. And
right.
Vivid memories of many sick days watching a lot of really weird daytime television, after school specials, weird interstitials. And for, you know, these things sort of stay in your memory. And it wasn't until recently that I decided to sort of address them head on in a way. And I had always been wanting to make a film about Florida. So I decided to take all those memories and feelings and combine them into one thing. And of course, we live driving distance from Disney World and Epcot Center. So I can't deny the influence there. And, you know, I remember the Epcot of yore, like, I remember experiencing the original attractions there. And, you know, they had such a unique tone and a unique feeling that I can't even quite put my finger on. And again, it stuck with me all these years, these memories of experiencing these attractions. And I, again, wanted to take elements of that tone and combine them with other things I remember and like, and make a satirical love letter to Florida.
It absolutely was. And for those who are watching who haven't seen the film yet, I do want to play a quick preview of You'll Make It in Florida, which again streams September 24th at 7:30. Let's take a look.
What if I told you that there was a place in these great United States where easy living was the coin of the realm, where relaxation was spelled with a capital F?
Not another step, turkey, or all.
Or you'll what? Peel some potatoes? Yeesh. How do you inhale all this smoke, Pam?
Pam? How did you know my...
Your name? There are many Pams out there. Pams who yearn for something more. Pams who want to lie in a bed of silky white sand.
So it's so I know Florida really well, obviously, and it's so good when it comes to Florida.
Well, thank you.
Even from that one little clip, you know, I've seen the movie like 10 times at this point, but it's just
more than me.
Oh, really? No, there's a lot of processing. But so I want to know, you picked a very unique aspect ratio for this, and so I want to know, was that intentional? And if it was, why? Or was it just, okay, this was good?
No. I mean, it was definitely intentional. I mean, I think actually most of the stuff I've made has been in 4:3, and I just love that. For me, it's my favorite aspect ratio because I'm totally out of my mind. But I think because I like, for some reason, I just have a better time framing shots, and my mind thinks, maybe because I'm a square, I like to think in a square aspect ratio. I don't know. But I think, I think also I want to, since I'm evoking a lot of the things that I watched as a kid on TV and like, you know, these after school specials and things like that, and like old Disney films, I always experienced them on TV. And that's why I wanted to evoke the shape of the visual that way in the aspect ratio. And I try to evoke the TV shape in other ways too. Sometimes in the film you'd see people appear in little windows. I don't want to give away too much, but I always intentionally made it into the shape of like an old tube TV to evoke that television kind of feeling. So that's the reason I stuck with that aspect ratio. But I also just like it in general. I would say almost everything I made has been in that aspect ratio. So
incredible. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think it really works for that film because I think it takes you sort of back to, you know, a time before widescreen, and also just like the overall feel of it. I think it works. I think it's such a great film, and I think that aspect ratio, it's not a popular choice anymore. We see it on widescreen, and I mean, interview with the widescreen for crying out loud. But you know, I think that's such a unique choice, man. And I think it worked perfectly with that film. That's why I was always like, oh, I want to know about the aspect ratio. That was a pretty good choice.
Yeah, thank you.
He also has some pretty cool visual effects in this too. What was that like? Did you have a visual effects artist? Did you do it yourself?
I didn't have that kind of budget. It was a mixture of practical and post-production effects. The practical effects were done mostly by, I mean, we all pitched in, but I basically kind of sketched out what I was thinking. And the production designer, Christina, she was amazing. She also did the costumes, but she did all the sets, and she would build the, like after we did our main shoot, we went and shot all the miniatures. And so so when you see like they're in parts of the film, you see like a miniature ride vehicle. That's sort of a rough approximation of them. Like she built that to scale, like with like, even like the tiny dog is inside of it. So I have to give her a lot of credit for the practical effects. And then like the Space Mountain looking tunnel that we constructed, literally, I mean, we built that like out of plastic and cardboard. It was made out of nothing.
I don't think I realized those are practicals, man. Actually, I thought those were all like done in like post or something. That's crazy.
No, we built that. That was to scale, full size. But again, it was falling apart by the. It took. I mean, the way we all pitched in to put it up, it was like an Amish barn raising. Like it was a whole, whole thing. And then I'd say the biggest prop we had was the big vehicle that they sit in for most of the film, and that was built based on some sketches that I sent Christina about these old Epcot ride vehicles from like Spaceship Earth and like Horizons and those old rides. So we built this thing. It was supposed to be a lightweight thing that we could transport back and forth, but it ended up being this thing that took 6 people to lift and became a whole thing for this production. The post effects I mostly did. I did them all by trial and error, just out of necessity, you know, all in my little laptop. And like, yeah, I tried to learn After Effects, but I got impatient with that. So I basically did all these effects in Adobe Premiere just by trial and error. It took a very long time, and it was a painstaking process, but you know.
But you learned though from it. I mean, that's if you trial phase, you can learn and you know how to do it for the future. Oh, that's incredible.
I wanted to make them feel like they were processed through like an optical printer. I didn't want anything to feel digital about it. So it took a lot of like layers and layering things in different order to like figure out what the right look would be to make it feel like as sincere and authentic to that era.
It definitely felt that way. I think I just assumed the visual, because as a filmmaker, I'm like, yeah, it's digital. Yeah, that's how you do it. So that is incredible that, those were practicals, and it's just like, that makes this even better, man. My hat off to you, dude.
Thank you. And I have to credit also the animator. There's one little bit of animation, hand-drawn animation in it. The animator, Isam Prado, was responsible for that 10 seconds of animation. I can't take credit for that, so he did an amazing job. So
I was gonna say, if you taught yourself that, I mean, this is great. So, did you guys film in Florida?
Yeah. So, a lot of people, when they see the film, they think, "Oh, there's a lot of stock footage involved," but actually, there's most of the Florida footage is not stock footage. Most of it was shot by me in my hometown of Sarasota. Some of it was shot in Orlando. A lot of it was my parents driving me around and me hanging out of the back seat, just filming all these different locales and suburban locales and like shopping centers and condominiums and things like that. And then there was this place in Sarasota called the Sarasota Jungle Gardens, which it's a big botanical garden with a lot of free roaming flamingos. And I went there on a very hot day, 100-degree day, and just for hours crawled around in the middle of these flamingos and shot all the flora and fauna that you see in the film. Even the underwater footage is not stock footage. I went to the Boat Marine Aquarium, literally pressed the lens up against an aquarium to get the underwater footage. So we only borrowed a few shots. There's a few aerial shots that obviously I wasn't capable of filming that we had to borrow, and a couple bits of footage from like an old like public domain film actually I think it's about Fort Myers, like a promotional film. Yeah. So most of that, all the Florida footage I shot around there, and then everything else we shot in Brooklyn. Both the dreary kind of northeastern city scenes, they were all shot in Brooklyn, and then our indoor footage that we shot on a soundstage was also in Bushwick in Brooklyn.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So what did the casting process go through? Because I mean, you have some pretty unique characters in here. So what did that look like for the people you knew? Did you go through a casting agent?
We had a friend of my producer's a casting director. She helped us out, at least get in touch with some people. Obviously, we don't know. We weren't sure who was going to say yes, but I looked at her long list, and two people that stuck out to me was Danny Burstein, who plays the tour guide. I had seen him a few times on stage in New York. He's a big Broadway guy. I'd recently seen him in Fiddler on the Roof, and he blew me away. I loved him, and been a fan of his for years. And then when I saw him on the list, I'm like, well, all right. I mean, this might be a long shot, but let's just try it. We're like a no budget. I'm a nobody, Yeah. And 3 days later, he read the script, got back to us, said, "Hey, I'm interested." And I'm like, "Hey, you realize like I'm a nobody, right?" So, despite that, and then Emily, who plays Pam, she's a theater actor in New York. I saw her in an off-Broadway play, and she really stuck out to me too. So I wanted to pick people from the theater because maybe I wanted a bit of a heightened performance style, more theatrical. I don't know. I don't know if I was consciously thinking that, but maybe that's just sort of what I was going for. So
that you were a fan of him, and then like, what was that like? That must have been pretty amazing to like be.
Believe me, I was surprised. I was shocked that he would even read the script and then say yes to it, and then agree to do it practically for scale. So like, wow. So yeah, no, it was an honor. It was great to work with him and Emily too. And Emily, her list of credits is impressive too. So I was like, for both of them, I was very anxious, And I'm a very nervous director, and I think they were very aware of that during the film. But everybody was very patient, and it all turned out okay. But I know it was. Their reputations preceded them, so I was, I definitely felt that when I was.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be so nervous to like direct any of my idols. I don't know. I forgot everything in film school right now. I become a bumbling mess. My favorite part of the casting process was casting the dog, actually, because we were like a very low budget film. We couldn't afford to get a trained animal, so we had to just we put out a blanket umbrella casting call for dogs that could. My only criteria was can this dog stay still and can it chase after a ball? Because those are really the only two things I needed to do. So luckily, just through happenstance, a friend of my partner, a friend of a friend, we found the dog Oliver, who'd never been in a film before, but was perfect. And when I saw him, I was like, this is the perfect dog. So that is awesome. We, my wife always tells me that we should put dogs in like the commercials for Fort Myers Beach film festivals. And she would, if I told her, hey, we're doing a casting call for dogs, I think she's not a film person at all. But she loved that. So like, yep, I'm a casting director now for this because she loves dogs that much. So that's actually all story.
Well, Godard said all you need for a film is a girl and a gun, but I disagree with that. I think all you need for a film is a ball and a dog. So I'm gonna quote that and put it somewhere. Yeah, sure. So what it's a great film. What are you most proud about with this film? Out of everything you've done, I mean, you got some pretty big name actors in there. You did build practicals. The film's great. What are you most proud about? Well, I'm proud. I mean, not to get too sentimental, but I'm proud that I managed to you get a group of people together that believed in this film for better or worse, and were able to like give it their all. Like, you know, we had people working, I had friends working on it, I had people I'd never met before working on it that other friends had brought in to just help out. And I feel like that was such a great feeling, just to look around and see all these people pitching in. Like I said, especially that day where we were constructing that big tunnel, and just to have everybody, including the actors, come in and like heave ho these walls up and just to make it happen. Like that was, I was proud to even be able to like bring people together to do this for me, you know, and for us. So, you know, and the other side of that is I'm proud to just have a complete film to finish something. I don't know.
I was just talking to a filmmaker earlier today, and they had said that there's a lot of people who start a film and they don't finish it. So to have a complete film is, I mean, spot on, man. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Phil, where can we find you? If we want to stay in touch, I think, you know, one of the biggest goals of Fort Myers Beach International Film Festival is to bring people closer together. So for those watching or watch it later on, where can we get in touch with you? You on social media? You have a website? How do we update what you're doing?
So you don't have a website. Clearly, I'm very prepared for this whole industry thing. So you can find me on Instagram as my name, Phil Chernyak. The film has its own Instagram. The film is just Florida Movie on Instagram, and then I think I'm just Phil Chernyak on Twitter. But that's pretty. I don't have a website. I actually have a Vimeo. If you Google me in Vimeo, you'll find some other things I made, like music videos and other weird things. So
awesome.
And it's all in 4:3, so you're gonna see on the edge of your screen.
I love it. Well, Phil, hey, thank you so much for your time, man. It was great to meet you virtually for now. I'm hoping everyone watches your film September 24th at 7:30. It's a great block of films that time. So, but please, man, stay in touch.
Thank you, Paulie. Kudos to you and the team at the Fort Myers Beach Festival. You guys have done an amazing job to keep it new despite the circumstances. So, bravo.
Thank you, man. Like I said, one of our goals is to bring filmmakers closer together, and this is the best we can do right now. But I'm hoping to make it up to everybody in 2021, because this is not what we planned for. We want to be one of the most fun festivals for filmmakers, and that's what our goal is, and hopefully we can bring that happen next year.
Cool.
All right, thank you, bye-bye. Thanks for joining. All right, everybody. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Guys, my name is Kyle Bay Thompson. Like I mentioned to Phil, please stay in touch. Stay connected. There's my Instagram and Twitter handle right there. Come say hi. Go say hi to Phil and other filmmakers. I mean, this whole point of bringing this is to bring everybody closer together. It's not ideal, but if we can do it, we can. I think right now, more than anything, we need each other, and we need the creativity. So until then, see you guys soon. Bye-bye.